This week, taking home the gold. The spring sports season comes to a historic end, the Rapids securing 3 state championships. Boys baseball coming back from a 2-1 deficit in the top of the 7th to win its first state title in 35 years and its first championship under Coach Donahue.
To leave a lasting legacy on him and his program and showing all the hard work he's put in, it just made us feel great.
Chris Parkin breaks down what made it all possible. And meeting the moment, the boys track and field team wins its first state championship in program history.
I did anything just to get faster, and I'm glad that I could see that improvement.
How future state champion Revac Banfield was able to succeed. We'll also speak to track athlete Jacob McManus, who placed second in state for the mile and 2-mile events.
It's just being able to know I contributed to this team that ended up winning a state title.
And down the line, girls tennis wins the gold after many strong individual and team performances helped them to score 25 points. Joining me for this week's Rapid Roundtable are Garrett Graham, Sierra Sports writer, and John Reeder, Sierra Sports correspondent. Welcome to the conversation. It's the Rapids Report.
From CR News, this is the Rapids Report with Talan Collins.
And a good afternoon. I'm Connor Orr, and thank you for joining us as we are just a week past the finale of the state championship weekend that was full of history for Columbia River Athletics. This spring season overall was highly successful for Columbia River as 3 separate teams claimed state titles. There were also many teams that found success that did not necessarily win state. For example, girls softball went 16-5 and qualified for districts. Boys soccer went 15-1 in the regular season and went to the quarterfinals in the state tournament. Girls golf took 3rd in districts and also had some individual success at state. Girls track also sent several athletes to state and even placed 17th overall. However, 3 teams, baseball, boys track and field, and girls tennis stand out amongst the rest. There was a lot of learning and development all 3 teams went through en route to winning state, but at the end of the day, they got the job done. Let's take a look at baseball first. After a state championship loss against Tumwater just 2 years ago, the boys were able to get back to the big game and win it. Not an easy path though, as the team started out 2-5. Collectively, the team was not living up to its potential. However, after that start, baseball won 20 out of its last 21 games en route to winning its first championship in 35 years. The boys were down 2-1 in the top of the 7th inning, and after several base hits, an RBI single from senior Chris Parkin, the boys tied the game up. Then, another base hit from senior Zane Boyes led to head coach Stephen Donahue sending home Charlie Palmersheim, who dove out for the game-winning run. I talked with senior Chris Parkin, who over the past couple of years has helped transform River Baseball into a dominant program. Parkin made the first 2A GSHL team this past year and is a 3-time All-Region pick. As shortstop, he was dominant and played a pivotal role offensively with a .422 batting average. Last year, I talked with Parkin, who said that the development of that year's players and the growth as a team really truly was a success. He also told me that the team needed to get to the batting cages. Getting to the batting cages, they definitely did, and the growth they made last year coupled with this year's development proved to be enough to win it all.
Champions, they're defined on how they respond to losing, not how they respond to winning. And for our team, I think we responded great to losing. We really came together as a team and as a family and built each other up. We had a great run going into the second part of the year, and I think it started with just coming back. We faced Woodland and we won 0-3. It was not a good win, but just having a taste of winning was what we really needed. I think our pitchers were much more hungry this year. I think everybody was a lot more hungry this year to win. But the big difference was a lot of seniority. Guys had been there, guys had been in the playoffs. And our lineup overall, our hitting was light years better than it was 2 years ago, where we weren't able to put up that run in the state championship 2 years ago. We were able to put on 3 this year. You couldn't really ever give up on it, knowing how it finished 2 years ago. And we had been on the pitcher all game. And so going into it, it was just kind of like we had to get it done, So for a lot of those guys, it's their last inning playing baseball ever. So, when I was at bat, we did runner at 3rd and 1st with 1 out. To be honest, I was just thinking about getting a job done. I went no stride and was just trying to put a ball in play. I was just lucky enough that it was a single. And Zane just couldn't be more proud of the kid. Getting the job done, sending the guy home, and unbelievable emotions came over me. We treat each other as brothers. brothers get angry at each other, they get mad at each other, they also, build each other up at some points. And I think it was just the idea of us, coming together as a family and playing. We wanted it more as a team. I really was playing out there for Donna. I was thinking about him getting his state championship, and to leave a lasting legacy on him and his program and showing all the hard work he's put in, it just made us feel great.
Next, boys track and field. The boys tied for first place in the 2A state championship meet with Anacortes. This year's boys team was unstoppable. They won every 2A track and field meet that they participated in which that includes the district championship meet and the annual John Ingram Twilight meet. They placed very high, second or third place in every invitational track meet as well. However, the most important meet that they won was the state meet. The boys were able to accomplish this with just 9 members. All of these members played a pivotal role in elevating River up the scoring ranks to place first. Many of these athletes also PR'd several times throughout the season, and even some set new school records. One member in specific, Revac Banfield, earlier on in the season explained how he was able to do just that.
A lot of training, not like too much, but definitely I got out there about 5 days a week in the summer. And I stayed pretty consistent through the school year. Personally, I like to look at my footage from last meet and always, find what I did wrong, find what I can improve on. And then I usually use that as a baseline to figure out what I should train and how I should train to PR and do better in the next meet. My first meet, personally, I had a pretty good opener with my 1 and 2. That got me some good times. But so far, the whole team, we've been performing really well. I really want those top spots, and I'm shooting for, number 1 at state. I want to PR. I want to PR every meet.
During this state meet, Revac and also Jacob McManus played pivotal roles in helping the team get first in state. Revac got first place in the 100 meter and the 200 meter and helped his team to place third place in the 4x100 meter relay, while Jacob McManus placed second in both the 1600 meter and the 3200 meter races. Collectively, the two of them scored 37.5 points for the team and are only juniors who will be looking to improve on all of the success they had this year for next year as well.
Yeah, the team as a whole felt really good because our Coach Sanderson, telling us going into it, he told us that we had a good chance of winning the meet or placing high. I'm a product of my environment, and the environment here at Columbia River is very strong for cultivating athletes and a community of athletes. So just to be able to be a part of that is what makes me so happy. I think it was when Eli won the pole vault on Friday, and then that was after he got second in the 16. Eli got second in the pole vault, and then John got fourth in triple. And then we realized, wait a minute, we're first place by about 15 points at that point behind Anacortes, who we ended up tying. But in that moment we realized, okay, if we perform well on Saturday, we're gonna have a really strong chance at winning this race. This team especially had a lot of confidence going into the state track meet, and I think that confidence is what led us to have our success. I obviously would have liked to win. I got second 3 times this season at state races, cross country, 1600 and 3200, all to the same person. So that's definitely kind of annoying, but I think you have to remember where you came from. And my freshman year, I didn't even make districts, so just to know how far I've come from and comparing it to that puts it into perspective by how much I've improved and how good I have been performing. Going into next year, a lot of people are staying, and we're gonna have a great shot at a state championship next year, so I say you should join and be a part of it. It's a great way to stay in shape, have a lot of fun. So really, this is a message to those who aren't doing it that you guys should join.
It's a big meet, and everyone's been looking forward to it for a long time. So I imagine we were all a bit nervous, but we trust in our abilities, and we trust in our teammates. After last season, getting 4th place, I really wanted to make it my goal to get first. So I did a lot of off-season training. I did a lot of off-season training. I got in the gym. I worked on film. I did anything just to get faster, and I'm glad that I could see that improvement. I'm glad this is kind of like setting a tone, right? Hopefully after I leave Columbia River, it's that same kind of, tone. We're gonna try to put the same amount of effort in to get first, because we know we can get first. Knowing your abilities, I know I'm fast, and that's the best way I can prepare for my races. I'm confident in myself. but of course I was nervous. And when that gun's raised and I'm in set position, you know, you kind of just run. After last season, you know, after going to state, people placing how they placed, the season ended. I know everybody was already, you know, getting ready and starting to prepare for the next season. And after all that, we ended up doing pretty well this season. So yeah, I'm happy about our performance.
Last but definitely not least, girls tennis took home first place in state as well after a dominant regular and postseason. As reported by CR sports writer Natoshi Craven in the article titled "Serving Up Success," the girls won 80 consecutive league matches in the regular season and were able to win yet another league title as a result of that. The girls were then able to find a lot of success in the district and by-district tournaments as well. This was especially seen with the duo of Sydney Dreves and Annie Morgan and individuals such as Emma Lungwitz and Jenny Serabikova. Overall, at state, all qualified members of the girls' team performed amazingly, and although no members won titles for singles or doubles, they won the most important title, the state title. Overall, in singles, Jenny Serabikova took 4th place and Emma Lungwitz placed 7th. Then on the double side, Annie Morgan and Sydney Dreves took 2nd, while Annabella Madrigal and Shaylin Murphy performed well but did not place in the top 8. Overall, individually, girls tennis players were able to end off their season strong, and collectively, they ended it the best way possible, with winning a state championship. And joining me now to break down that weekend of dominance, Garrett Graham, CR Sports writer, and John Reeder, CR Sports correspondent. Good afternoon, gentlemen, and thank you for joining me. Okay, so I want to start a question for you, John. From a comparison standpoint of the regular season where this boys track team was really able to cruise by everyone to, you know, the state track meet where it was much closer in terms of team scoring, you know, 64 total points for each side. What made it so much closer?
Well, honestly, Connor, I just think we were simply outnumbered. You know, back in the regular season, we usually have lots of different athletes competing, but in state, we only had 7 boys competing while Anacortes had 14, around 14, I'm pretty sure. So they had about double the athletes we had. However, we had athletes that were multi-events. So we had like Revac, he had 3 events. Jacob had 2 events. Even myself, I had 3 different events. So placing really high in those, that just helped us score a lot of points.
You got anything to say on that, Garrett?
You would say the factor of more so quality over quantity then?
Yes, I would definitely say that. Yes, Revac, you know, taking home 2 first place medals, 10 points each, you know, that definitely helped us score really big and tie with Anacortes.
Yeah, and then Jacob with 2 seconds and Eli with a second in the pole vault as well.
Yeah.
And then for you, Garrett, you know, Jacob at the end of his interview, he talks about how he thinks this boys team can run it back or have a chance next year to also win it, go back to back. How do you think the team will be able to do this? Do you think it will be easier or harder?
Well, knowing that there's a lot of juniors, sophomores, and freshmen still on the team, I think it would be pretty similar in difficulty, like this year where we barely were able to edge it out and just tie with Anacortes. But I would like to add that Eli Wanger and Seth Arnett, who are both seniors, are going to be leaving, and they're major contributors in the pole vault and the 4x100. So it's not going to be easy, but I think it's definitely doable to repeat state titles next year.
Yeah, most definitely won't be easy, but I definitely think it'll be easier than it was this year because not only do we have juniors coming in, but you got to think about the rest of the state. You know, they got seniors competing. There's a lot of seniors in this meet placing really high, so when they leave, we can have juniors from our team come and replace the spots they had, which will help us, you know, place higher and score more points.
Okay, and then I think we're going to do one more question for track. I would like to mention that there are many members of the boys track team that I think kind of go unnoticed. You know, everyone knows Jacob and Revac, you know, placing 1st and 2nd. But, you know, we have people for, like, example, Eli Wenger, who took 2nd place in pole vault, and Riker Lakula, who took 4th place in discus. What do you guys think this does for the team, knowing that in every aspect of the track that you guys have outstanding athletes? What does that do for the team?
I just think it really helps, you know, because when you think about state, you know, and scoring points, everyone contributes to it. Like, it's not just Revac and Jacob, like you mentioned, you know, even though they placed really high and scored a lot of points, you know, every point matters, especially in a tie win like this. You know, we needed people like Riker to place top 4 in the discus. That just helps us, you know, it contributes more points and it just helps for the total because without them, we wouldn't have walked away with the title.
Okay, so I want to turn our attention now to boys baseball, who, as mentioned earlier, they were able to come back from being down 2-1 in the top of the 7th inning to winning the state championship. However, before we talk about the game specifically, I want to bring up what I think is a very important and truly, I guess, like postseason changing moment for the boys, which was their semifinals district victory over Tumwater. So I think winning that game really showed that the boys that they could win any type of game, and knowing that Tumwater beat them 2 years ago in the state championship, it kind of I feel like it could give them like a lot of confidence going into the rest of the meet, knowing that they really have the ability to take, or the rest of the postseason, knowing that they really have that ability to take anyone on and defeat them. So for John, you covered that story in one of your CR posts. What did you take away from that game?
Just like you mentioned, I just think that was the confidence boost this team 100% needed. Tumwater coming into the game, they were extremely hot. They had won multiple games before that. They were ranked top 5 in the state, and they had just shut out Mark Morris 10-0, which was a team that defeated River earlier in the season. So they were just looking, honestly, unstoppable. And to come in there and to beat them in an OT thriller the way they did, getting a revenge for 2 years ago in the state championship game, that just really, like you said, showed that they can just beat anybody in the state if they can take down those guys. So that was really just a confidence boost this team needed, and gave them great momentum going into the state postseason.
And then, Garrett, 2 years ago, as we know, River lost 1-0 in the state championship game against Tumwater, and was just 3 outs away from losing this one as well. What did that do for the boys going into the 7th inning, knowing that 2 years ago they had lost it, but they were back in that moment?
Yeah, well, I'd say that loss 1-2 against Tumwater, it really was important for them, because a lot of coaches like to say that losing is more important for the learning process of the athletes than actually winning is. So I think that loss was able to allow them to kind of get that experience and then that trust in themselves. And then when the time comes, they are ready and they're willing to defeat Tumwater this time, and they did it.
Yeah, I think it really just made them really battle-tested, honestly. We had players like Chris Parkin and Charlie Palmersheim that were on that team and that were key contributors to that team when they lost. So in the back of their mind, I can only imagine that it was just there, that same feeling they had when they lost 1-0, and they just probably used that as motivation that they knew they needed. This was their last chance, and they needed to do what they needed to do to get it done and win the state championship.
So one other thing I want to bring up about that championship game was, like I said, they were down 2-1 in the top of the 7th, but they tied it up 2-2. And then Zane Boys got an RBI single for Charlie Palmersheim, who dove in, and many people are calling that the slide. Yes. However, personally, I think it was a very questionable call, because if you look at it, Charlie, when the catcher got the ball, Charlie was pretty far away from the base. But what does that show about this team? What do you think would have happened if Coach Donahue did not make that decision to send Charlie home?
I just think, this just shows who this team is. They take risks. They know that if they're gonna win, they gotta make some sacrifices, and they just gotta go all out. And that's gonna go down as one of the greatest plays in Columbia River sports history, if I'm being honest. Charlie went for it. Catcher was kind of oblivious, didn't really know what was going on, and he just sent it. And Coach Donahue, that just shows the trust he has in his players as well. And he knew that if they were gonna win this game, he needed to send Charlie home, and it was the right decision, and it will go down in history.
Yeah, the player-coach relationship and having that trust there is really important, and having a successful sports team there. And just, like I said earlier, the willingness to win right there, being willing to take a high-risk, high-reward situation is very important.
Yes.
And then I think we got one more topic I want to bring up. Girls tennis, they won state. They didn't have anyone individually win in singles or doubles, but overall they won as a team. So looking at the state tournament, they had a lot of success. First from Jenny Serabikova, who placed 4th in singles, Emma Lungwitz, who placed 7th in singles, and the doubles duo of Sydney Dreves and Annie Morgan, who placed 2nd. What do you all think that says about this year's team and its success at state?
I just think this just shows how well-rounded of a tennis team we have. Even though we had nobody take first in anything, we still got state because we have this team, multiple different areas, just scoring high, getting a lot of points. It just shows that there's a lot of togetherness and community with that team, and they just did what they did to get it done.
Yeah, I think it means there's definitely great potential on the horizon for that team moving forward. A lot of freshmen, sophomores, juniors on the team, and it's just going to mean that they will be able to work just as hard as they did this year, next year at state, and potentially go back-to-back.
Guys, thank you so much for joining me. That is our show for this week. I'm Connor Orr. Talon will be back next week for our last episode of the school year, featuring a special reporters roundtable. As always, the conversation continues because here at CR Sports and CR News, the Rapids Report.
Hey Rapids, if you liked this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the CRTV YouTube channel to support content for and by CR students. Thanks for watching.